There is a change in the wind. There is a change in the energy. So much good is going on. I have a special guest with me today, Latina Brown from New York, and we're going to be talking about some of the biggest stories in the news today. Latina, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me on, Stephen. I greatly appreciate you.
So, we just had this incredible Bronx rally with Donald Trump. You had people like Hakeem Jeffries saying, "Go home, you're not welcome in New York." AOC saying, "Nobody's going to show up. You're not welcome here. You are a criminal." Governor Hochul saying, you shouldn't be here. Nobody cares about you. On and on. But the energy, the support was really incredible. And so I want to just go through some questions with you. As someone living in New York, what are your thoughts on these trials brought against President Donald Trump by Letitia James and Alvin Bragg?
I think the trials is it's a sham. I think it's a distraction to pretty much use the Justice Department and politicians and our DAs, district attorneys, and attorney generals to take out a political opponent because they are threatened by him. They're threatened at the possibility that he can and will win his reelection into the White House. Many of the residents, I am a South Bronx resident. I live in the heart of South Bronx. So we have boots on the ground. We know what's going on in the community. We've gotten feedback from many of our residents and community leaders, and they're just fed up with the Democrats. They're fed up with the party. They're fed up with the one-party rule. So, this case against Trump is a distraction from what's really happening behind the scenes, and we can see that. I've been in politics. I've worked in government for over several years. I know exactly how they operate and what their tactics are.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned to me off camera that you grew up a Democrat. You've left the party. What were some of the changes that you saw over your lifetime that made you say, wait a minute, I don't think I want to be a part of this anymore, and I'm going to try to rally people to a different idea?
Well, I think that the pandemic was a wake-up call. I've been on the ground with our law enforcement. By the way, I love my NYPD. I love all of our law enforcement. Who wants to defund the police? Like, really? That in itself was a wake-up call, because if you take away our police and their right to, make lawful arrests and do what they have to do to protect our community, what do we have? We have nothing. Then you have the increase in crimes. We have drug use in the community. We have homelessness. And who's taking care of our veterans? The pandemic was a wake-up call for many of our Democratic voters, especially in the South Bronx. We were hit the hardest. As you well know, the Bronx County in itself is the most poorest borough in New York County. Okay. That in itself, with the inflation, we can barely put food on the table. I'm a working mom. I see what our, community members are going through. I myself, I'm just scraping by just to make it, just to pay our rent, just to put food on the table, just to put clothes on our backs. We shouldn't live like this, and we can't continue to vote down the party line. There needs to be some change.
Okay. One thing that I've been covering on my channel that I haven't meant for it to agitate or irritate people, I just think it's naturally happening, is I've been watching these Democrat leaders like Mayor Eric Adams and Governor Kathy Hochul, the way that they are coddling illegal immigrants, giving them basically monthly money, taking it from New Yorkers that are paying taxes, kicking your children out of school so they can be made into shelters, a $10,000 lump sum of money. They're being put up in really nice hotels. What is the feeling? What is the feedback that you're hearing from your fellow New Yorkers when it comes to the treatment of these illegal immigrants?
A lot of anger, disrespect, neglect by the politicians. We're not being taken seriously. We're being taken for a joke. It's like, hey, see you guys every 2-4 years for your votes. Let me throw a few bags of chickens your way, some potatoes, and that's it. Go in your corner and shut up. a lot of people feel disrespected. And I think that a lot of these politicians, these progressive politicians, the AKA socialists, they are all put in place by these powerful figures behind the scenes. They're here for a reason to disrupt our communities, to push us out of our communities. And a lot of people are catching on to it. And, you know, this goes back to the one party rule. One party rule have been ruling our communities for decades now. And people are just tired and fed up. So you have the illegal immigrants who are here getting access to resources, and it's on our dime. We're paying for these resources, but we cannot get the help. Who's taking care of the New York people? Who's taking care of the American people? So I've heard that the continuous feedback, and people are pissed, man. They're pissed off at the Biden administration. They're pissed off at our governor, and they're pissed off at the mayor. I believed in the mayor at one point. I supported the mayor because I said, you know what? This is a retired cop. Maybe he can help restore balance in our city. Maybe he can help restore law and order. He's my biggest regret. I regret voting for him. I regret supporting him. I had such high hopes for his administration. Kathy Hochul, I'm at a loss for words. She is so out of touch with the people.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, my channel grew to over 1 million people, helping people understand how to get unemployment, PPP loans, a stimulus check, things like that. And I remember, you know, people in Washington, D.C. and New York, they took almost 7 months to decide whether to give us $600. And meanwhile, these illegal immigrants are being put up in hotels that are almost $700 a night. And then you times that out by 30 nights and you realize, like, oh my gosh, I know people that don't make that much money in a year, let alone how much they're shelling out per month for all of these illegal immigrants. And, you know, you said that you're at a loss for words with Governor Hochul. You know, just in the last 10 days, she was on an interview where she said, oh, you know, these black kids in New York, they don't even know what the word computer means. You know, that's how bad that things are. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like so offensive. It's so offensive. I text with every single person that I know and ask them, do your children know what a computer is? And every one of them were like, what are you talking about? Like, why would you say that to us? What were your thoughts when you saw her say that?
She's showing who she really is. She's racist. That's a racist statement to make. You know, my daughter, she knows how to operate a computer. She knows what an iPad is. You know, it's just very insulting. And I think that, you know, the Democrats, they're so used to pushing this racist narrative. You know, I call it race baiting. You know, Kathy Hochul is just, she is not for us. She's never been about the people. She's more for herself. And I think that was just a very disrespectful, disingenuous comment to make about the Black community in general. That's how she really feels. That's how the Democratic Party feels about us. And this is why I pulled away from them, because when I look at their agenda, I'm like, you're not really for the people. Whose agenda are you pushing? And it's the lobbyists, you know, these big time donors. They're the ones that's pushing this agenda out into the community. And they're not really about Blacks and Latinos progressing in life. You done broke up the Black home. You know, you keep us poor. You know, you're not about, you know, encouraging empowerment for the Black community. You want to keep us at the bottom level so that you can have that control. And that's what I see when I look at Kathy Hochul, the city council members, the assembly members, and the senators. They are all just the same, pushing the same scripted narrative.
Yeah. I would bet you that your daughter knows how to work a computer better than Governor Hochul. I would bet you that.
Absolutely. She's very good at it.
I know you've raised a smart daughter, and, you know, based on her and her age, I'm like, I'll bet you her daughter knows how to run a computer better than the governor.
Yeah, 14, and she's an honor roll student, and she's very good with AI. These kids, they know more than me. I mean,
Yeah, when my mom got a new iPhone, she was asking me questions. I said, "Go talk to my 12-year-old. Like, they'll know this stuff better than I do." Speaking of Governor Hochul, I was a little disappointed on the day that Trump came to the Bronx. She said, anybody that would support Donald Trump is a clown. Anybody that
I saw
wants,
that.
yeah, anybody that wants change or to break away from New Yorkers and the Democrat Party, they're just clowns. And I thought, I know I'm not a clown. I know you're not a clown. I just wondered if you've asked anyone in the community how they felt being called a clown for wanting a better life, for wanting a better Bronx. It just, to me, it's so offensive.
I think that I did speak with my neighbors. I'm also a tenant leader in the community and a community partner. So the feedback that I've gotten from community members is that they are afraid of not being able to control. This is what it's about. They're afraid of losing their seats. They're afraid of the districts being flipped from blue to red, which is a possibility. Just recently, I don't know if you tuned in and saw the city council election in District 13, I believe. A Republican took the seat, beat out a Democrat, and we played a role in that. It was Democrats and Republicans and independents. We joined forces and said, enough is enough. Let's flip this seat, and we did. And that was a wake-up call for the Bronx Democrats. Like, oh my God, this community advocate is coming for us. She's flipping seats. She's working with the other side to get rid of the establishment. It's time to break up this establishment. The political machines, they're hurting the community.
Yeah. Were you able to be one of the people that got into the Bronx rally?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was a beautiful moment. Oh my goodness.
Oh, it was fun to watch. The thing that I loved hearing the most was they said there were people that said, I'm not a Republican, but I feel like I have a place here.
Yes.
And I loved hearing that. But one thing that I noticed, and it maybe just because it was within a couple of days of each other, but Donald Trump at one point, I believe it was after, it looked like maybe someone had a medical emergency. He stopped his speech. Hey, is there a doctor? But then after he said, can I just take a few minutes to talk about success? And he talked about hard work and providing value and not giving up and knowing when to pivot. And it was just really beautiful. But then just like 2 days before that, you had the president of the United States at Morehouse College telling educated Black men and women, your country hates you. You're probably going to be killed. Everything is against you. And even though you love your country, it doesn't love you back. What is he thinking, number one? And just to put those two speeches side by side, you could see the difference in quality of these two people running for presidents. Any thoughts on that?
I think that Trump is more genuine. This man previously served as our president and works for free. He didn't get paid. Okay. That goes to show, his genuineness towards his country and his people. Joe Biden cares more about the scripted narrative that he continues to push. He cares about his big donors. He is not a serious person. He is not to be taken serious. Once again, this goes back to them being afraid. They use I think they use like several different key tactic words to try to trigger the Black community, which is our reproductive rights. And I'm all for women having a choice. But these are the key words that they use. They talk about housing. They talk about our skin color. This is their way of gaslighting us. We don't want division. People are waking up. We are hip to what's going on. You can't pull the wool over our eyes anymore. And I think that at that Trump rally, it showed unity. The pre-rally, when we did the pre-rally May 18th, I did this in partnership with the Black Patriots for Trump, with Derek Gibson, the founder, and several other community leaders. We wanted to test the waters to see how the community would respond to Trump coming out to the South Bronx. positive feedback. We've had Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, and independents tell us, please bring him. Bring him to the South Bronx. We want him here. We want him to hear us. We want him to make changes to better the Bronx, because the South Bronx have been neglected for decades, and we want to see change. And he heard our cries and he took action. That's what a real leader is supposed to do. You're supposed to listen to the people, listen to your voters, and come out. And he did that. He showed us. And we're talking about thousands of people showed up. The Bronx came out strong that day. I even saw residents from Harlem, neighbors that I know, people that I work. I saw city agencies in there. I saw state agencies in there, and they were all happy to see Trump.
Wow, man, I wish I could have made it. I've only ever flown into New York and flown right back out. So I need to come visit New York.
Please come to New York, and I'll give you a tour.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I wanted to understand something. Again, I've never been to New York, but on the same day that the Trump rally was happening, Representative AOC was holding a meeting saying nobody's going to show up for Trump. And then the camera made the mistake of panning out to the audience. There were less than 20 people there.
Yes.
I'm just maybe they all, they were going to attend, but then Trump was in town. I don't know, but I'm just curious, what are people's thoughts of AOC? Do they feel like she's doing a good job for the community, that she understands the needs and takes those to Washington, D.C.? I don't know a lot about her other than many years ago, I think when she was brand new, she said something that made the owners of Amazon mad, and it ended up losing a lot of good paying jobs in the area. What are people's thoughts of AOC?
Well, unfortunately, I am her constituent. AOC is an absent representative. You do not see AOC unless it's election time. She's never in the Bronx or in Queens because she has South Bronx and she also has parts of Queens. Now, the Bronx did not vote for AOC. She won her election in Queens. Queens voted her in, not the Bronx. So a lot of Bronx residents feel like AOC carries herself like she's a celebrity and not as a public servant. She doesn't care about the people. She's not in touch. Just today, I think I picked up on my Ring camera, one of her reps came out to do some door knocking to speak to my neighbors to get them to vote for her, and they don't know her. We don't know who she is. She's never been out here. It's very disrespectful to the constituents that she's even coming out during election time just to get into office, and then she disappears. You don't see her again.
Wow. Okay. I appreciate you sharing that feedback, because again, I really don't know her that well. We have someone we're planning to get rid of here in Utah. His name is Mitt Romney. And,
really?
Yeah, he's gone. He knows Utah is not going to reelect him, and most people I know have been very disappointed in him. You reminded me of something that AOC said about 13 months ago. Now, mind you, this is a woman that has no children. She said that she can barely live on her $175,000 a year salary, and that Congress needs a raise. I thought, oh my gosh, how many people in your area would love to make $175,000 a year, and here you are complaining about it. It seemed like such a slap in the face.
It's disrespectful. The average person, a family of four in the South Bronx, yearly salary is approximately $32,000 a year. They're barely making ends meet. AOC is not from the Bronx. She's from, Westchester. She grew up privileged. She went to private school. This is not someone who is relatable to the residents in her district. You have a lot of single household moms raising children. You have a lot of seniors who've been neglected by this representative who's been absent. Once again, AOC is more of a celebrity figure and not a public servant. And we need real leaders. We need common sense leadership. We no longer want people in office who just care more about, getting a salary and the title and celebrity status. Bring back common sense leadership. And I think that New York is going to turn red.
Oh man,
it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Wouldn't that be something unbelievable? You were recently on OAN with a new friend of mine, P. Ray from Chicago.
Amazing.
You two are like, fighting for who's more awesome, and I just love it. I feel grateful to know both of you. But
Thank you.
There's another woman that I'm going to be interviewing from Florida, and her name is Laverne Spicer. She's running for office.
Goodness, I love her content.
Oh, she's got some courage in her comments. I'll say that, right? So anyway, she said on her Twitter feed today, she said, if Joe Biden has done so much for the Black community, how come none of my Black friends ever talk about it? And I thought, oh, wow, that is really telling, because where I live, people talk about Donald Trump all the time. My family and I recently went on vacation to California, and it was Trump signs all over. Nobody's wearing a Biden t-shirt. No one's wearing a Biden hat. No one has a Biden sign in their front yard. And so it just got me thinking, like, wow, wait a minute. Okay, if he's done so much for the Black community, how come none of my Black friends are talking about it? Have you kind of seen that same thing there in the Bronx?
Yes, I have. I don't know if you've watched my my content on Twitter, but I have clashed with some friends and some family members over Joe Biden. They can't tell me what he's done for the Black community to help uplift us. All I hear is Trump is a racist. Trump is a racist. I'm like, can you please explain to me how Trump is a racist besides what you see in the media? Because, Democrats, they control the media, the far left media, and they can pretty much put whatever they want out about a political opponent. So they couldn't explain to me the reasons why Trump is a racist and what he's done to, disrespect the Black community. What I know for a fact is that Trump has helped the HBCU colleges. He's given back. He's, helped out the Black community by providing us with jobs. We didn't have inflation under Trump. Joe Biden's administration is a complete disaster. People are struggling, and they pivoted back to Trump. How are you guys blaming Trump for an inflation, and he's not even in office? So yes, I've lost some, friends over my beliefs and support for Trump. I have family members who are not talking to me, but some of them are coming around. But I remember there was a point in time, and I think you can agree with me on this. Back in the days, you can have a difference in political views and still break bread with each other. Today, that's not the case. Now it's like, people are being blacklisted, people are losing their jobs just for supporting Trump. People are like getting violent now. It's like, how do we get to this point now? It's very heartbreaking to see that.
Yeah, I agree. I saw something funny today. It was there was a reporter, and I don't know which station he was from, but he walked up to Joy Reid and he said, "Oh, you hate Donald Trump so much, you got his haircut," and she did not appreciate that. I thought it was a pretty clever joke, because she does have the blonde hair, but she said on her Twitter that Byron Donalds of New York is nothing more than a MAGA prop Black guy. I don't fully understand what that means, because the Republican Party, from my perspective, has a lot of really incredible Black Americans already in it. And I believe that there's plenty of room to have many, many more. What are your thoughts on her comments?
I think her comment was very ignorant. It's sad to see that our own people is attacking another just for having a difference in political views. I think Byron Donalds is awesome. I think he's very intelligent. I like the way he speaks about policies. He knows his policy inside and out. You know, I have a background in working on policies when I was in city council back in my days. So, you know, Byron is a very, very intelligent gentleman. So Joy Reid is just, you know, she wants to pull all of the blacks into, you know, one side, which is the progressive Democrats. And if you're not part of that, you know, that clique, you know, you're the outsider, you're the outcast, you're being blacklisted, you're crazy, you're MAGA, you're prop, you're being paid. Just like this goes back to, you know, far left media putting out this story that the Trump's rally, these people were paid to be there. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely, I wasn't paid to be there. I wanted to be there because I want to support Trump. I want to flip the Bronx blue to red. I want to flip New York blue to red. We are not paid to be there. We are there because we are just so tired of this, you know, radical leadership. We want common sense.
Yeah. Okay. Final question. I really appreciate you coming on. I know you've already worked a full day, and
it's okay. Anything for you.
So I was speaking with somebody in the Baltimore area, and I asked them, I said that I had read that almost 90% of students in Baltimore can't do basic math. And he said, yeah, unfortunately, it's true. And I said, well, haven't Democrats been running Baltimore for over 50 years? And he said, yes. And I said, then why wouldn't they want to change that? It would make them look good. And he laughed. And then he told me, they don't care about the people. They only care about power.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And it shocked me. I guess maybe I'm a little bit naive, but I just wonder if some of that isn't maybe going on in New York, where, you know, unless the people are in the streets or calling them, that they say, well, we'll just let the people deal with their own situation. We just want to retain our power. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I see what's happening with our public schools. We have, you know, an administration that's not focused on making sure that our children are getting the, you know, the proper curriculum and making sure that they're being taught. You have children who are being skipped to the next grade and they can't read or, you know, write properly. They don't know, they're not reading at their grade level. And it's sad. So you have parents who are now pulling their children out of public schools and sending their children to private schools, charter schools, or they're homeschooling their children. And most of them are even leaving New York City altogether to move down south. The quality of life in New York City has totally diminished. And I think that, you know, people are just now waking up to it. It's like it's such a shame that it took decades for people to realize that the Democrats do not have, you know, a good interest for the community. They're not focused on bettering the community. They're not focused on restoring values into our community. This is all about power and money, and it's just it's really disgusting.
Well, I just want to end by saying that I think your community is blessed to have you living there.
Thank you.
Obviously, I think your daughter is blessed by having somebody, you know, that is looking out for her. I would just encourage you, keep being there for your community. I'm optimistic for the future. I know a lot needs to change, you know, and I hope that change can happen. Latina, thank you so much for coming on tonight. If people want to follow you online, is Twitter the best place I can push them, or is there a website?
Yes. Twitter is the best place where they can follow me. And Stephen, thank you so much for having me on your show. If you ever decide to come to New York, give me a quick shout out and I'll give you a nice tour of New York City, take you to some of the best restaurants in New York City.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you again for coming on, and have a great rest of your night.